My name is Autumn Harry. I'm a member of the Pyramid Lake Paiute tribe. This is the Great Basin Indigenous mural here at the University of Nevada, Reno, and I'm the artist that completed the mural. It took me about a month, and yeah, it's really beautiful. It's right in the center of campus, but it's getting a lot of visibility here on campus, and I think that's really important for Indigenous students, Indigenous peoples, because this land that this institution is on is our homelands, specifically Washoe and Northern Paiute. And so I wanted to create this piece of artwork that represents our native people here in the Great Basin, again specifically the Washoe, the Northern Paiute, and the Western Shoshone. And there's elements that are incorporated from each of those tribes in this artwork. So this idea actually stemmed from, I think it's been in the process for a few years. There was a kind of a lengthy process with interviews and presentations, and I was really fortunate to be chosen as the muralist for this piece. The Office of Indigenous Relations thought it was really important to have Indigenous artwork here on campus, and this in 2024, it's actually the 150th anniversary that the university has become an actual institution. And so within 150 years, like, it's taken this long to finally have some like Indigenous artwork on campus, especially something that is so visible. So I think that's really important. When I first came here, it was very bland and boring and just white walls, and so I wanted to make sure that it popped with colors, that it was very vivid, and I think our people are very joyful people, and so I wanted it to kind of like have that joy and that color and that beauty to it. I was really fortunate to have some of my friends helping me out. My friend Orlando Ortiz was my mural assistant and helped me throughout the whole entire process, and I was actually using a operating lift, and that had like a 1 month deadline, and so I had to finish the whole piece within 30 days, and towards the very last week there were a lot of details that still needed to be added, and thankfully I was able to like put a call out for volunteers into the community, and during the last week it really became a community mural. It's meant to be the Truckee River watershed, and it's also meant to be based on your perspective of where you're standing here, with Lake Tahoe over here and Pyramid Lake in this direction, and so the wall kind of flows in that same direction, and so that's why Lake Tahoe is this way, and then it flows into Pyramid Lake. This wall is actually kind of like, it's a little bit separate from the other three, but it's meant to be kind of like the statement wall that really allows people to kind of understand, like, this is about the 4 Great Basin tribes, and so it says honoring our future, and I wanted that to be focused on like our native people, and we wouldn't be here without our ancestors, and so this wall actually represents Numu, Washu, and Nua ancestors. And so there's Corbin Harney, Datalali, Marion Carey Dan, Wavoka, any Native graduate, past, present, or future, and then that's my late father, Norman Harry. So all of these individuals have been very prominent within our communities and can still continue to I think set like a nice path forward for us and continue to set a really strong example of what our people need to be working towards when it comes to land and water protection. So I wanted to highlight those individuals. And so this wall is Kuiwi Papananata. This is Pyramid Lake. And you can see that the sun is coming up, and also when you're looking at this wall, we're looking towards the east direction. And so when the sun actually rises, it comes up when, like, as you're looking at this. So I wanted it to have the sunrise. It has the Kuiwi and the Lahonk cutthroat trout, and with all of the history with dams and destruction to our fisheries out at Pyramid Lake, I wanted there to be both male and female of each fish species, because we need both of those genders for the fish to survive and to continue to reproduce. And then one of our ancestors, this is Katie Fraser, and this is based off of an old photo from, not sure the year, probably the 1930s, early 1900s, But this is her filleting the kiwi alongside the lake. I think she's a really powerful figure as well, and a really strong woman. And as someone who, as like a young Indigenous woman who really loves fish, like I look up to people like Katie,
Yeah.
who dedicated their whole lives to the protection of fish. And those are also like, that's our ancestral food.
Yeah.
That's where Kuiwi Takata were the Kuiwi eaters. So
Yeah.
I thought it was really important to focus on that. And you can see that the fish are swimming upriver. This is based off of the cave that is just near the pyramid. And this is like, I think, one of the most beautiful views. This is off limits, just so people know. Don't try to travel here. But yeah, I think it was just a really beautiful image that's representative of our homelands.
Yeah.
So this middle panel was really meant to connect the watershed here and to connect the two lakes. And so it's also meant to show like the shared protection of land and water between the Washoe, the Northern Paiute, and the Western Shoshone.
Yeah.
And so you have hands that are holding the tuba or the pine nuts. And we wouldn't have pine nuts if we didn't have water. And you can see that the rabbit brush is blooming, which means that the pine nuts are ready to pick. And there's elements from like the Washoe basket designs up top, and then the tule ducks that are in the piece as well. Yeah, so this is Tahoe. I am not Washoe, and so I look to other friends who are Washoe for the spelling, the pronunciation of the lake. But all of this entire artwork, like there's dams do not exist in my artwork. And so you can see that the fish are traveling upriver, and historically they would travel all the way up to Lake Tahoe before there were dams that were built. There are no barriers here, so they've traveled all the way up to Lake Tahoe. And this is like the sun is setting. And I wanted this piece to really focus on these young women here. So in 2020, there was the Palisades name change from the derogatory SQ term. And that was a really historical moment and really powerful moment. And all of the, like, so many Washoe women had gathered in the mountains to celebrate during that time.
Yeah.
And so this is a picture from that celebration. I really want people, especially students, faculty, everyone who's walking past this mural, to think about the Indigenous peoples of this land and to think about whose homelands they're recreating on, you know, going to get an education on. Like, this is our people's territory, and we're still very much a part of the protection of this land and this water. And especially down at Pyramid Lake, where my homelands are, like, we're really impacted by all of the upstream diversions, and also just the way that people treat like the water upstream, because it flows to us eventually. Yeah, I hope it's educational. Well, it is educational. It's meant to be an educational piece, and I hope that it kind of sparks people to want to learn more and to do their own research and their own homework on the Native people of this area.